Vegeta is one of the most beloved but complex characters in Dragon Ball history. His character arc, from being introduced to us as the Prince of all Saiyans, coming to Earth, then undergoing, developing a family, and love for others, to his sacrifice, and ultimately to his acknowledgement of the truth of fighting, it truly is one of the greatest and deepest character arcs of all of anime history. And in this video, we're going to be breaking down Vegeta's mindset, or psyche if you will, and we're going to do this throughout a series, and we're going to be covering his psychological mindset throughout the series, from the first time we see him up until his sacrifice in the Buu saga, up until his acknowledgement of what it means to be a martial artist, right? The point here is to give you guys a full comprehension of Vegeta's feelings, thoughts, and behaviors, and we're going to be looking at this from a psychological perspective, right? We're going to be using psychological terms that apply to Vegeta, and we're going to be using the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders, right? And for those of you that don't know, the DSM is a crucial tool for communicating among clinicians, like among doctors, researchers, public health officials, and this ensures a common language, a common criteria that's consistent for an accurate diagnosis for the individual being analyzed. And in this case, it's Vegeta. And so with that being said, to get a full scope of what Vegeta was going through emotionally throughout the series, we are going to utilize statements from the anime and the manga. We're going to go to the source material. And with that being said, let's not waste any time. It's time to begin class, right? And first and foremost, we're going to just explain in a brief explanation who Vegeta is fundamentally, right? And simply put, he is an arrogant, narcissistic a-hole. To explain, narcissism is a personality trait characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others. And does that not sound familiar? That is Vegeta, right? Vegeta adheres to a lot of those characteristics of narcissism, right? For example, Vegeta shows a grandiose sense of self-importance, right? He thinks that his own achievements and talents are more important than everybody else's. He's constantly craving for attention and praise from others. He wants the validation that he is the prince, he is the best Saiyan, he is the strongest, right? And he does not have empathy for others because due to his narcissism, it's hard for Vegeta to even share feelings or to understand others' feelings. To continue on, he also has a sense of entitlement, right? He thinks that he deserves special treatment. He is a narcissistic, entitled man that gets ultra humbled when he meets Goku, right? So now that we know who Vegeta basically is at his core, now let's talk about the birth of his inferiority complex that was born during his arrival on Earth. Okay, to begin with, what's an inferiority complex? An inferiority complex is a persistent feeling of inadequacy and insecurity where an individual believes that they are inherently inferior to others. This can stem from real or imagined flaws and lead to low self-esteem, social withdrawal, and even aggression. Again, symptoms of Vegeta that carry with him throughout the series. And this all happens with his first encounter with Goku, right? But before that, we need to first understand Vegeta's background, right? How was Vegeta's ultimate self-esteem and his aggression and him thinking he's entitled to greatness? Where did that begin? Well, this all stems from his upbringing with the Saiyan warrior race from Planet Vegeta, right? And it was the values that society taught. Vegeta comes from a class-based system. The way the Saiyan society was structured, it was a class-based system, right? And this is what Vegeta, it was what he was taught by his father. And for those of you that don't know, a class-based system is a form of social stratification characterized by hereditary status where a person's social position is determined by their birth rather than the individual merit or achievement. And to put this in Dragon Ball terms, the Saiyans just have a similar ranking system or caste system, right? So for example, Vegeta is an elite while Goku is considered a low-class warrior based on their power levels at birth, meaning that Vegeta was brought up in a mindset, in a brainwash almost, that convinced him that he is the one true ultimate Saiyan warrior, that he is the strongest of the Saiyans, that no one, especially not another Saiyan, can ever best him. And that's where he was not set up for success by his father and even his boy Nappa. Then you have Goku. on the other hand, who was born as a low-class warrior, but Goku defied the standard. He believes and showed that with hard work, determination, and training, a low-class Saiyan warrior can beat an elite. And this is what Vegeta pretty much went crazy about. Vegeta believes that power was his birthright, and his birthright alone and his entitlement is what made the loss so heavy on Vegeta's brain. Now, before you freak out, yes, I know Vegeta technically beat Goku, Krillin, and Gohan in the end. However, you need to watch and read the manga and anime in context. Vegeta is clearly having a mental breakdown right after Goku starts mollywopping him with Kaioken times 3 and beats him in his beam struggle, right? Let's take a look at manga chapter 230 to 231, along with the anime episodes 30 and 31 of Dragon Ball Z. In the manga, look at the beginning of the chapter titled The Dangerous Threefold Kaioken. Goku is attempting to push the Kaioken beyond the recommended times 2 power, and this is where we see Vegeta gloating about what it's like to be an elite, and that Goku is a low-class warrior, and that no matter how hard he'd train, he would never be able to keep up with Vegeta, right? And to explain further, during that chapter, Vegeta actually states, and I quote, "It doesn't matter how hard you train for this moment, you'll always amount to a low-ranking outcast. All you've managed to do is prolong your defeat." End quote. Now, the anime was very similar as well, right? Vegeta's talking to Goku in episode 30 of DBZ, and Vegeta states, and I quote, "I was the #1 most powerful man even among the Saiyans. No matter how much training you've done, you're still just a left behind." End quote. And Goku then proceeds to tap into his Kaioken technique with the 3 times multiplier, higher than the Kinkai recommendation, and with that power, this is when we see the tables turn in Goku and Vegeta's first bout. Goku starts dominating Vegeta, and although it's brief, this is the start of Vegeta's mental mindset becoming warped, because he, in his head, just got defeated. He just got his ass beat, for lack of a better way to say that, right? For example, in the manga chapter 230, we're seeing Vegeta flabbergasted. He's dumbfounded. Just look at the panels on the last page of the chapter and just notice how Vegeta can't even comprehend what's happening. He actually goes on to state, and I quote, "It can't be. His power levels exceeded my own." And then in the next manga chapter 231, this internal breakdown of Vegeta's pride continues. Because this is where he's like, "Okay, I refuse to let this happen. I am a super elite. There's no way I can be bested by a low-ranked commoner like you. I am the greatest warrior alive." End quote. And then continuing on, Vegeta also gets a deep cut, literally, when he goes to wipe his face, and he notices that there's blood on his glove, and this just mind boggles Vegeta. He just cannot even comprehend what is happening. And when you look at Vegeta's internal dialogue during this point, you can clearly understand how Vegeta is just so in disbelief. He's angry and he's going crazy. Really, you see this. He's going crazy about his noble blood and how it was spilled by a piece of low-level trash. Goku in this instance. In addition, the anime here actually really does reinforce how Vegeta is having a mental breakdown over that idea, the idea of the low-class Saiyan defeating him. And who is he? Vegeta? He is a super elite Saiyan, and this is where the onset of Vegeta's PTSD begins. PTSD? What's that? Okay, post-traumatic stress disorder. It's a mental health condition that can develop after a person experiences or witnesses a traumatic event. It is characterized by persistent, frightening thoughts and memories of the event, avoidance of reminders, and changes in mood and thinking. This sounds ultra familiar, and yes, some of you might be thinking, "Oh, you're reaching too deep." Well, no, how about you go back and watch the show or read the manga in context, and you're going to see if you critically think that Vegeta is already in shock to Goku's power. And then you add on the fact that Goku ends up besting Vegeta in their beam struggle on top of a little bit of their fight. This destroys and obliterates Vegeta's ego. And this is ultimately defeated by Krillin, Gohan, and Goku. And yeah, Vegeta actually did win that fight, but he also lived to fight another day because they let him escape with his life. But it doesn't matter, because in Vegeta's mind, he lost that fight. He was defeated from an emotional and from a prideful perspective, right? And this is the catalyst for crippling Vegeta's outlook on how the world works. Now I would like to expand on how losing to Goku actually messed up Vegeta's outlook on life, right? Vegeta never really had a real challenge before, right? Yeah, he was under Frieza, but besides him, He always felt he was the strongest. And yeah, Frieza was stronger than him, the Ginyu Force, but he was never fighting them until the Namek Saga, right? He was technically on their side working for them. Point here is that Goku was his first true obstacle. And let's break down what this does to Vegeta's psyche, right? He has that entitlement. He thinks he's supposed to be the best. He thinks he's superior, but losing to Goku, even for a little bit, forced him to question that belief. And that's where the cracks in the armors begin, right? Even though Vegeta technically wasn't defeated, Goku's strength left a scar on his pride. And even as we continue on Vegeta's journey, there are multiple hits like this to his ego, right? That kind of leads up to his curse with Babidi, which we'll get to later. But for now, I want to explain some of the big contributing moments or events that occurred and damaged Vegeta's psyche, made him go crazy in the head and more angry, if anything. Vegeta's next big hit is when Goku, and not him, achieves the legendary form of Super Saiyan. And to add, it's Goku and not Vegeta, mind you, to avenge the Saiyan race by defeating Frieza, right? And while Vegeta doesn't actually really give a rip about bringing the Saiyans back, he still wanted to be the one to get the avenge on Frieza because of his pride, because he's the Prince of Saiyans. Has nothing to do with the Saiyans. Moving on, another kick to his ass is when the mysterious warrior that we come to know as Future Trunks, and eventually we know as Vegeta's son, he's also to become Super Saiyan. And this makes Vegeta go even crazier. He's like, there shouldn't even be any other Saiyans, and now this random person who's claiming to be a Saiyan is a Super Saiyan. What the hell? And Trunks also goes on to kill Frieza for good, right in front of Vegeta, right? And again, he starts being haunted by dreams and thoughts of Goku and Trunks just being Super Saiyan and never being able to catch him, right? Well, let's bring our attention to the manga, because we see that Vegeta's frustrated with there being two other Super Saiyans, and that he is the Prince of all Saiyans is still not. But his determination to prove that he's the best has him go to Bulma's father Briefs and says, I heard Kakaroto trains at 100 times gravity, and I'm capable of 3 times as much. The next scene, we see Vegeta being weighed down by the extreme weight of the 300 times normal Earth's gravity. However, I'd like to add that the anime actually does a way better depiction of Vegeta's haunting of Trunks and Goku, right? In episode 124 titled, and I quote, I will overcome Goku, the king of the Saiyan warrior race, end quote. And even the title enforces Vegeta's pride, and it details how much Vegeta needs to surpass Goku to calm his mind down. He is going crazy, essentially. He's getting haunted, right? We have Vegeta having a nightmare in the anime, Bulma's watching as he screams out that he will defeat Kakaroto. And this is in both the sub and the dub of the episode. We see Vegeta running after Goku, but not able to catch him. Then Trunks appears with Goku, both of them transforming into Super Saiyan, but with a malicious look. And obviously, this is a dream, and they're drifting away, right? Vegeta doesn't know it's a dream, but this puts Vegeta in a frenzy, for lack of a better way to explain it. And he's like, why can't I reach them, right? Now, continuing on this scene depicts a lot of Vegeta's psyche. So, back to it. Later in the scene, Vegeta begins to fall in what seems to be some type of body of water, but more importantly, we see Vegeta shedding tears within his dream. But then he starts to hear his father, King Vegeta. He starts talking to him, and he hears his father telling him, and I quote, you are to become the king of the Saiyans, the greatest fighting race in the universe, end quote. And this scene takes it even further by having King Vegeta actually explain to young Vegeta how the Saiyan caste system works, what happens to low-class warriors, what happens to super elites. King Cold tell him that he's the strongest of the Saiyans and will be the greatest Saiyan ever one day, and this is what invigorates Vegeta now to pursuing the goal again and to continue to train to surpass Goku. But before we continue on to that next segment, I just want us to acknowledge the fact that Vegeta was truly brainwashed by his father and Nappa. They made this guy believe that no matter how hard anyone worked, how strong they were, that they would never ever beat him, because Vegeta was destined to be the best, the strongest Saiyan ever. But we know that's obviously not true, right? Any Saiyan could be the best Saiyan ever with training. This is detailed through Goku's character. And honestly, I mean, this kind of leads him back to his usual obsession, right? He becomes Super Saiyan. He's the strongest of Trunks and Goku, even stated by Piccolo, right? And then he believes that he truly surpassed Goku when he emerges from the hyperbolic time chamber, the room of spirit and time, right? He thinks his grade 2 form is the ultimate pinnacle of the Saiyan warrior race. However, by the time Goku and Gohan come out of the time chamber, Vegeta soon realizes that Goku has yet again surpassed him and has mastered the Super Saiyan form all around with no energy drain and no slowness. Not only that, what kills Vegeta even more is that someone surpasses both of them. Goku's son. Gohan unlocks Super Saiyan 2, and while Vegeta was in awe of Gohan's power, by the end of the saga, with Goku sacrificing himself, Gohan achieving Super Saiyan 2, the ultimate power of the Saiyan race at that time, this destroys Vegeta inside, internally, right? He failed to surpass Goku, and not only that, Goku's son Gohan surpassed him too. So now he's surpassed by both father and son, right? He's starting to believe that he has no control over the destiny even anymore, and he starts to even slowly believe that maybe he's not meant to be the strongest, right? In episode 192 of Dragon Ball Z, we see Vegeta having internal dialogue with himself, and he states, and I quote, "I've been completely outdone by both of them, the father and the son," end quote. And he then gets frustrated. You see this in the anime and in the manga of how Goku sacrificed himself in the way that he did, right? Like, he just did something so selfless, but he didn't even acknowledge Vegeta, and afterwards Vegeta has to accept that he has now missed his opportunity to ever surpass Goku, and this is what makes him vow to never fight again. I do want to make a sidebar here. Notice that he says he's not going to fight again. Not that he's not going to train, but that he's not going to fight again. Think about it. From a warrior perspective, which Vegeta is, he's still going to train because that's what he's learned to be accustomed to now. But regardless, the key takeaway here is that Vegeta literally lost his purpose, or what he thought his purpose was at the very least, and that was surpassing Goku and reclaiming the throne as the best of, or aka Prince of, the Saiyans. And this is what brings us to one of the most pivotal, emotional, and character developing arcs. It's the birth of Majin Vegeta and eventually his atonement, his sacrifice, right? We have a 7-year time skip that occurs at the end of the Cell games, and Gohan's in high school. He's got a little brother. Vegeta's got his family, Kid Trunks, and Gohan is going to join the 25th Budokai Tenkaichi, right? The 25th World Martial Arts Tournament. And Vegeta is hearing about this, right? And Goku interjects from Otherworld and says, "Hey, I want to join with you guys too." And then Vegeta's like, "I'm in too. Trunks, you'll be joining as well." So Vegeta's feeling a little bit light back in him, right? And this is going to bring us to manga chapter 438 titled "The Matchups Are Decided." This is where we see Vegeta get matched up with Goku, and this makes both Saiyan warriors excited. You could see it in the manga and in the anime. And Vegeta states to himself internally, and I quote, "Yes, Kakarot's my opponent. I've been waiting for this for a long time. The day I defeat you, Kakarot." End quote. So as you can see, the same guy that 7 years ago said I will never fight again is now ecstatic to fight again against Kakarot, against Goku. So it's safe to say he's excited, he's pumped, and that is until he is not, right? So later in the tournament, as a bunch of us know, Gohan later in the tournament gets ambushed by Yamu and Spopovich, and then gets his energy stolen for the revival of the evil Majin Buu, and this is the beginning of the Buu arc, right? But now let's take our attention to chapter 445, titled "A Frightful Mystery." We, Goku and the gang, ready to go follow Supreme Kai to chase after Yamu and Spopovich to find Babidi's hideout. But what's important to know here for this video is that before departing to follow Supreme Kai, Vegeta says to Goku, and I quote, "Quit playing games, Kakarot. What happened to our match?" Goku says, and I quote, "Now's not the best time for that, don't you think?" And Vegeta says, "Don't you dare cheat me out of this. I don't care about the Kaioshin person. Whatever his business is does not matter. All I want to do is settle the score one-on-one. That's the whole reason I came to this ridiculous tournament. Goku then says, okay, I know how you must be feeling. We'll fight for sure later, even if it's not at the Tenkaichi Budokai. Vegeta says, asshole, you only have 1 day left on this world. And Goku's like, just follow me for now. We'll fight later, I promise. And even in the episode, right, 219 of Dragon Ball Z, this is where the same scene's occurring in the anime. Vegeta's seeming way more pissed, and we even see him walk over to Goku and grab him by the shirt while he's saying all the dialogue we just covered, right? And I mean, ultimately here, Vegeta is just being selfish. He doesn't care that the Earth might be in danger. He doesn't care there might be a new threat. He just wants to beat Goku. But to be fair, again, you can understand Vegeta's frustration, right? To be honest, in some degree, his anger is justified. Now, it doesn't justify his actions, but it at least explains them, and it just justifies his thoughts. They're not rational, but it's understandable to see how he got there. Regardless, Goku's reassurance to Vegeta about them having a fight later, it kind of puts Vegeta at ease, at least for a little bit. And that is until Deborah, during his fight with Gohan, finds a vantage point against our Z team, and that is Vegeta, the evil inside of him. He could see how angry he's getting with Goku and annoyed because they can't fight because Gohan just can't kill the enemy, right? And with this knowledge, Babidi then takes control of Vegeta's mind, or so he thinks, right? Because the reality is Vegeta allows Babidi to do this Majin curse on him to gain an extra power on top of his 7 years worth of training. We find out the truth about why he let Babidi use the curse on him, which is the strength. Look at Dragon Ball Manga chapter 459. The chapter is titled Countdown, and also in Dragon Ball Z episode 231 this is happening, and that episode's titled The Seal is Broken, Out Comes the Vicious Majin Buu. Now, first of all, in the manga chapter, Goku and Vegeta stop fighting to talk for a second, and this happens in the anime too. But continuing on, Goku acknowledges how incredible Vegeta is as a fighter, actually, right? He goes on to state, and I quote, incredible. I thought my training in the other world was tough, but it looks like you're about just as strong as I am. You must have trained even harder than I did. Vegeta's response was, and I quote, I may have trained harder than you, but you're still stronger than I am. No matter what I do, there's always been a constant gap between the two of us. It became clear when I saw you fighting Babidi's monster, and it was a blow to my pride, so I made the decision. Goku then realizes that Vegeta decided to use Babidi, and Vegeta affirms by stating, and I quote, yeah, I've learned back at the tournament that Babidi's men have become much stronger after being possessed. That's when I thought to myself, if I allowed myself to be possessed by Babidi, then maybe I would finally catch up to you. And I was right. I hate this idea, but... And before we continue the dialects, I just want to point out, why does Vegeta hate this idea? What do you think? Well, it's because he's never wanted anyone's help. But this is what length Vegeta had to go to get this fight, to get on even grounds with Goku, and that was the most important thing to him, or at least he thought that that was the most important thing, right? And you see this come to the surface by the time he goes to fight Majin Buu. Goku is pointing out to him during their conversation, hey, even with your pride, you let yourself become possessed so you could gain a little strength? Like, this isn't anything like Vegeta, you know? And this honestly strikes a nerve of Vegeta in the anime and the manga, and he does get emotional, and he goes on to explode, and he states, I wanted to be the way that I used to be, a cruel and cold-blooded Saiyan. I wanted to fight you without holding back, without having anything to worry about, not worrying about anything else. Your influence softened my heart, and I even started a family and began living a normal life. I needed to find my past self, and even if it required the help of someone like Babidi, and now I feel so much better. Goku challenges him, either version, saying, do you really believe that? Basically calling out Vegeta like, you're full of And that same dialogue does take place in episode 231, but there's a lot more past scenes added, right? And even in the earlier episodes of their fight, like we see Vegeta thinking about and explaining to Goku how he noticed Goku's raw, true power deep inside his Super Saiyan 2 when he was fighting against Yakan. And he also looks back and brings up how his father would tell him that he is the king of the Saiyans, or he's destined to be the best, and he is the best. He explains his royal birthright that his father talked to him about. And at one point, we even see him explaining to Goku how Gohan finding the pinnacle of Super Saiyan powers, SS2, crushed his pride as well. Now, Goku and Vegeta throughout their fight have a few different dialogues, right? And they eventually need to stop the fight because they realize that, wow, Buu is way stronger than they imagined. There's something deep inside him that's like pure evil. Well, Vegeta's giving pushback about stopping the fight, and Goku yells back, He'll kill everyone, including Bulma and Trunks. And then Vegeta actually rages out and says, shut up, shut your mouth. I allowed Babidi to take control so I can dispose of that kind of feeling. I don't give a damn about anyone who dies. Goku calls him out on his BS and states, and I quote, that's not true. You're not completely under his spell. And in the anime, Goku highlights this more by calling him a liar. So eventually Vegeta agrees to postpone the fight, and as we know, he goes to knock out Goku when his back is turned, but this isn't for malicious intentions actually. At this point, Vegeta has realized that what Goku was telling him was the truth. Vegeta does care, and he wants to go save the ones he loves. He acknowledges that Boo's resurrection is his fault, and because of that, he's the one that should take care of him. And this brings us to Vegeta's final atonement, right? His sacrifice against Majin Buu for Trunks, Bulma, and even Goku. Now, Vegeta in both the anime episode 236 and 237, which I like the dub's name of the episode 237 where Vegeta actually sacrifices against Buu, they title the episode Final Atonement, right? And to explain, what is atonement? Atonement is a reparation or a right doing for a wrong or an injury. It's justice, making up for the past sins, atoning for the wrong that you have caused by ultimately doing the right thing for the sake of others. Now, on the other hand, in the original sub, it's titled, and I quote, for those whom he loves, Vegeta perishes. And I like that title too. Both titles work just fine, but I just prefer the dub one. To me, it's a little bit more sentimental. It could be nostalgia, but I do like it. It's a fitting title. And if we bring our attention to the manga chapter 467, titled Farewell, Proud Warrior, I just want to point out, before we continue the cover of this manga chapter, we see a current Vegeta, right? Like from the Buu saga, but he's in his old Saiyan armor from when he first arrived on Earth. And I love this because it actually shows the humanity in Vegeta. And it shows that even though Vegeta is a very proud Saiyan, focused on his strength and being the best, because that's who he's been entitled to believe he is, he has grown and he has changed now at this point, right? He's fallen in love with his family. It's not all about strength, even though he wanted to lie to himself and say that it was. He is in the moment where that family man that we see in later of Z, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball GT, he's born here, right? And in the mentioned chapter and episodes, Vegeta is at first whomping on Majin Buu. It's awesome, right? But due to Majin Buu's magical regeneration, he just cannot get hurt. And on the other hand, when Buu starts fighting back, he starts obliterating Vegeta, just molly-whopping him all over the battlefield to the point where Trunks has to basically get a rage boost, go Super Saiyan, and kick Buu away to like jump in and try to save his dad for a little bit. And when Vegeta comes back to conscious, this is when he realizes what he needs to do. And so, to explain, in the anime episode, we see him waking up to Trunks and Goten unwrapping him from Boo's goo, and he soon gets up to realize, like, oh, there's still imminent danger here, and there's only one way to defeat Majin Buu, and that is to blow Buu to bits so that he cannot heal. And even in the manga, he states the same thing to Buu, that he's going to blow him up into so many pieces that he won't be able to regenerate. So he knocks out Goten and Trunks, tells his son that he loves him. He says his goodbye to Trunks, says his goodbye to Piccolo, makes sure that Piccolo saves Goten and Trunks, and then he faces Buu. And this is where he tells him that he's going to throw him into the wind. And then we see Vegeta making that ultimate sacrifice for the sake of his loved ones. In both the anime and manga, dub and sub, Vegeta states, and I quote, farewell or goodbye, Bulma, Trunks, and yes, even you, Kakarot. In this scene, Vegeta's sacrifice, his final explosion, right? No matter the medium, the manga, the anime, whatever, it's just executed so beautifully and amazingly. I do think this is some of Akira Toriyama's best character writing ever. It's just unparalleled when I think of other moments of Dragon Ball Z, right? The emotions that are felt when I'm reading this in the manga or I'm watching this, even better, they're incredible. It's extraordinary, right? Vegeta, we see this guy who's always just been really just a crybaby. We see him come this Majin Vegeta and he's badass, right? But as much as he likes it and as much as we like to see the Majin Vegeta arc, the right thing to do was to fight for the ones that he actually loved, that he learned to love over the years, because that was his family. And so Vegeta threw away that pride. He threw away the wanting to beat Kakarot and to truly do the right thing, to make up for all the evil he's caused. And to do that, he had to make the ultimate sacrifice, aka his life. And this is why Vegeta has the best character arc in the series. His character development from being an arrogant narcissist Saiyan warrior who thought he was the best just because he was told that all his life, all the way to his sacrifice here, and detailing in the end that what mattered more than surpassing Goku or beating this obsession was his family and loved ones. And it was too late at this point for Vegeta because his feelings were already too deep with Bulma, Trunks, and the Z team, including Goku even, right? This is the moment that Vegeta becomes a true hero, even though he wasn't trying to. And what his sacrifice really meant, it wasn't about winning, it was about reclaiming his humanity. It was about his self-actualization. And what that is that it's realizing what truly matters in your life, and then you act on it, right? And for the first time, Vegeta chooses love over pride, friends and family over self. Majin Vegeta was his lowest point, right? It was Vegeta's breaking point, but it was also the moment he's truly started to grow. And Vegeta at the end of the Buu arc, when King Emma lets him come back to life for one day to help defeat Buu, through the battles with Buhan, Vegito, fighting Kid Buu, right? He's watching Goku fight Kid Buu in his Super Saiyan 3 form, and Vegeta finally acknowledges that Goku is the better fighter and that he's number one. This moment of Vegeta's respect happens in manga chapter 510, and the chapter is called Vegeta and Kakarot. In the Dragon Ball Z episode, it's episode 280, titled Vegeta Takes Off His Hat, Goku, you are number one. The manga and anime are almost the same, except the anime adds in extra scenes of the past showing Goku beating him, Vegeta, with Kaioken and being the one to become a Super Saiyan on Namek and avenge the Saiyan race. We also see Vegeta acknowledging how he thought he surpassed Goku when he beat Android 19, and all of this just adds a great visual for the dialogue being said at the moment internally by Vegeta, right? And I'm gonna quote the manga, and this is where Vegeta says, and I quote, "Kakarot, you really are amazing. I didn't stand a chance against Majin Buu. The only one who could fight him was you. I think I know why now. I know why I can't even come close to you. I thought it was because you had things that you wanted to protect. I thought that strong will of yours to protect brought you some mysterious powers. But I have that same desire now, and yet I fight for my own reasons, for my own pleasure, to kill my opponents and for my pride. But he's different. He doesn't fight to win. He fights so that he can better himself each and every time and to overcome his limits. That's why he never took the lives of the opponents that he fought. He even spared my life. It's almost as if he knew that I would eventually care for others. It pisses me off to think a gentle Saiyan would still love to fight. But," and in the next scene, while Vegeta's watching Goku fight for the universe against Kid Buu, Vegeta states, and I quote, "Hang in there, Kakarot. You are number one," end quote. So Vegeta finally has acknowledged that Goku is the superior warrior, realizes what true martial arts is, and that it's all about breaking your limits, becoming better with each fight and each day. This brings us to the Vegeta that we see in Dragon Ball Super and even in GT to an extent. The one who fights for his family. The one that fights to protect. With that being said, I appreciate all of you that have watched this whole thing. The final question to you is, do you think that Majin Vegeta, right, Vegeta going under Babidi's spell was necessary for Vegeta's growth? The reality is that Majin Vegeta needed to happen. He needed to undergo that spell. He needed the emotions to be brought to the surface instead of bottled in, and he needed to work through it, and that's exactly what he did. Vegeta as a character grows more intelligent with each passing arc, and this is why we love him. This is why he is one of the most beloved characters among the fandom, and I hope with this video you now have a way better understanding of Vegeta's mindset throughout the series. As a reminder, no matter what you're going through in life, no matter how impossible something seems, take this as a lesson. Break your limits. Stop giving yourself excuses and do what you know you need to do. Go do your duty. Never give up. Just like Vegeta didn't.